So let me first explain, okay, where Git comes into picture. We have development team. Development teams develop the code in their local laptops or desktop, and then they all commit the code into Git. That means it's a server, it's a mission. In this mission, we have to install Git, and then we have to create something called a repository. Repository is nothing but a folder. A repository, we call it. And inside this repository, we store applications source code. Then what happens? As a DevOps engineer, we again clone the code, right, from Git in a separate mission. Whatever code we have, then we use Maven here to compile that particular code, and we generate mission understandable code. For example, here if we have .java, we compile all these .java files and then generate mission understandable .class files. Then we deploy the code into some Tomcat server. Say here you have the var file. This is your var file, and users can connect to this mission and then they can launch application from their browsers. Correct? This is end-to-end build and deployment. So we call it the building mission understandable code, deploying it into server. Build and deployment. We are just here now. We are first learning how to work with Git as a DevOps engineer. See, it's not about the development teams, right? If development teams, QA teams, or any other teams are stuck with any Git commands, usually they come to us. They come to DevOps engineers because we are experts in Git. So we help these teams if they are stuck with any commands. Second thing, we are learning Git for ourselves also, because as a DevOps engineer, we also take some code, we modify the configuration files, scripts and things like that, and then we also should know how to commit or say push the code back to Git. So one for helping others, second reason for ourselves. And in real time, usually we take care of Git server. There would be a Git administrator also, dedicated person, but usually we also take care of a lot of other things which we are going to learn. Right. Sorry. So before we learn Git, let us first understand why Git. Okay, why we have to store the code inside the Git? Why can't we store the code in a normal folder? See, if you take your mission, we can store the code in normal directory also, right? You create a folder, then you can store all your Java files here. We can do that, but why Git? Let me first explain, right, what happens if you store the code in a normal directories. Why we have to store the code inside Git kind of version control system? We call Git as version control system, or you call it as a revision control system, or source code management tool. All are synonyms. Usually we call it as VCS or SCM. SCM is a more popular word. Source code management tool. Since Git helps us to manage the source code efficiently, we call it as what? Source code management tool. You'll understand, right? Why we call it as SCM tool. What kind of things it will manage. So here it is a normal directory, for example, or some folder. Assume that you have file a.java or whatever, and two developers, for example Harry, takes the file for modification purpose. Assume that it is 100 lines. It has 100 lines of code. At the same time, Sally also takes this particular file from this directory. You download this particular directory, probably a shared folder, right? And then Sally also has taken the same file, right? And Harry modifies it. Harry modifies the file for some bug fix or whatever, and then Harry uploads this particular file into this directory. Now earlier it was A, now it is A dash. Let's call it as A dash. Harry changes, right? It was A, and then Harry modified something and then uploaded. So now whose code you have here? Harry's code. At the same time, Sally also modifies something, adds some more lines, and then Sally uploads her file to this particular directory. Whose code we have here now? A dash. That is Sally's code. Correct? And if you see here, Sally, when Sally uploads the file, this particular A double dash, right, has A plus Sally changes, correct? It is still missing Harry's change. You understand that? Let me explain the same thing in a different way. So you have A, for example, here, right? Harry takes A, Sally also takes A. Harry modifies something and then submits. Whose file you have here now? Harry change, correct? This is Harry. If you see, Sally has taken A, right? Sally has taken A. On top of A, Sally modifies something. Let's call it as A double dash. Now, when Sally uploads, whose file we have here? A double dash. And if you see, A double dash is what? A plus something. Sally's own changes, correct? Here, A double dash doesn't have Harry changes. And from now onwards, if somebody downloads the file, they get A double dash. A double dash has A plus Sally changes. It is still missing Harry's change. So what is happening here? When Sally uploads the file, Sally is actually overriding Harry's changes. And if this guy takes, say, assume that A double dash, this user also modifies something and then commits, right? Again, right? A triple dash. This doesn't have Harry's change. So here in real time, if you store the code in a normal directories like this, people override each other's code. What is the problem we face? If we store the code in a normal directory, people override each other's code. I modify something and then you override my code. Other person again overrides your code. If people are overriding like this, we cannot concentrate on the development, right? Whole day like we'll be kind of fighting with this kind of resolving this kind of overriding issues. That is the problem. Now let's see how Git helps us. If I store the code in Git, so this is Git server, say for example. If I store the code in Git, what happens? Assume that here I have A. Harry takes A file, right? 100 lines of code, for example. Sally also takes the same file. This is Sally. Same 100 lines of code. Both have cloned or they downloaded the file from Git, and then both are working in parallel. Now Harry modifies it and then pushes Harry changes to Git. You know what Git does? Git won't override the existing file. Instead, it will store Harry's change as a separate copy, A dash. You understand this? That means you have two copies. One A dash, two copies. And it will also give a number to it. For example, it starts with 1. Whenever Harry pushes or commits the code to this particular Git, it will create a separate copy for Harry. It will also give a number to it to identify this particular change. Now, Sally has what? A, right? And then that is 1, first version, correct? She has taken 1 and then she modified something else. Now, when Sally commits, right, or pushes her changes to this particular Git, you know what Git does? Assume that it takes Sally changes, okay? 3. This doesn't have, right? This doesn't have Harry change, correct? So Git won't accept Sally change. When Sally commits, Git says, I will not allow you. Sally is asking why? Because you have taken A, right, the older one, first version, and then you have modified something. If I accept your change, right, it will have only this, but it is still missing Harry change. So I will not allow you. Because if I allow you, you will override Harry changes, correct? Means this doesn't have Harry change, and if somebody takes, it doesn't have his code. Then Sally asks, okay, then how do I commit my code? How do I submit my code? Git says, before you commit, you first take Harry changes. So when before Sally commits the code, Sally has to first take Harry change. So Sally has to run a command called git pull. Git pull. The moment Sally says git pull, for example, what happens? Git pull command pulls Harry's change here. So Sally has first version, Sally has her own modifications, plus Sally has second version also, this second version, correct? So before Sally commits, Git will throw her a warning saying, since I have the new change, you have to first take the change, you have to merge this change with yours. So Sally has first one, her own changes, and Harry changes. Everything is merged in this particular file. And now she can push. So you will get third file, third revision, and this has 1 plus 2 plus 3. And if anybody takes the code from here, they get all the changes. There is no overriding here. So whenever you modify something and then commit to Git, Git won't override. It will create a separate copy for separate users. For example, if 100 users are committing something into Git, say for example 100 users, all these 100 users will have a separate copies. I commit something, right? Say it will give me a separate version. Similarly, if you commit something to Git, 4, 5 and things like that. If 100 people are committing, you'll be having 100 revisions. 99, say 98. Correct? We call this the revision number, or we call it as version number. It is my version of the code, Harry's version of the code. It is Sally's version of the code. It is your version of the code, your version, my version, and things like that. Right? Means a separate copy for separate change or separate users. So for 100 users, 100 copies you have. And to identify this particular copy, it gives a number to it. For example, till here, your application code is working totally fine. Okay. Somebody committed something to users, and this code is causing some issue. This code is causing some issue. So what do you do now? You have to fix it. So, right? This user said, I need 3 hours to fix that issue. You don't have 3 hours time because something is already broken in your website production, and you don't have time 3 hours time to fix it. So what do you do now? You can just go to Git and then say, hello Git, give me the code, check out. That's a command. Okay, give me the code till 98 version. If you give it 98, so you know what it does? Till 98 you'll be having some code, right? So it will give the code till this point, whatever you have. You take the code and then you push it to the production, and then you are done. So you can go back to any previous version, say 90 for example, and then clone the code or take the code from that point when there is some issue. If you store the code in a directory, do you get separate copy for separate user? Do you get the numbers to identify a particular copy and then take that particular copy? When you are working in real time, we may want to go back and then take the code from a previous known good point, previously working code. We can take it. Since you are storing the code inside the Git is helping us with all these things. That is the reason we call Git as what? Source code management tool. Any project you take in the world, the project has to be in some source code management tool. Either it can be SVN, Git, ClearCase, Purpose, or it can be TFS. There is another tool. Usually, it is used in .NET projects. But these are all the commercial tools, right? So in open source, we have SVN. Earlier it was CVS. Now it is Git. In this is open source, and if you go to commercial tools, we have TFS, ClearCase, right? Perforce. Yeah, these are the popular tools. Again, TFS and then Perforce is very popular. Okay, ClearCase is not popular now because they're not supporting the project now. These are the open source and then commercial tools, right? Git has a lot of features. Even you don't see those features in TFS and then Perforce. Even the Perforce, companies which are using Perforce, right? They are again using Git wrappers on top of that. That means users will work with Git commands only, right? And that Git command will be converted as Perforce, and then you'll be storing your code in Perforce. See why there are wrappers? Because Perforce is little difficult to work with. Git is very simple. So on top of Perforce also people are using Git now, and it's open source. It's a free, right? But why people go for TFS and then Perforce when Git is very good and then very popular? For the support purpose, right? Or few companies would have already tied up with Perforce, TFS. It takes a lot of time for them to come out of this tool. For example, projects which are using ClearCase are trying to come out of ClearCase and then use Git now. Git. So kind of, right? So Git is very popular and it's open source. If you go to Google, Facebook, Microsoft kind of companies are using Git. It's very popular. That's the latest source code management tool we have. Let us first learn Git. At the end, I will also compare compare Git with other version control systems. So what are the advantages of using version control system or source code management tool? Source code management tools help us to avoid that overriding issue. One thing, overriding problem. Second thing, Git is helping us to store the code as versions, right, as separate copies. We call this as versioning. Versioning. That means since your code is versioned, right, you can go back to any previous version and then take the code till that point. So it helps us to version our code. Third thing, it will also store who has done what with respect to your source code. That means who created this particular, who modified this particular change. The moment Sally commits here, what it does? It stores Sally's code as a separate copy. It gives a number to it. It will also store who modified this particular file, right? When this particular file is modified, why this particular file is modified. It will also store this information about each and every change. So what happens now? Assume that you are taking the code, right? So this is your development team. You have the code in Git. You take the code and then you compile it, right? We compile the code and then we deploy the code into Tomcat server, correct? When you are compiling the code, assume that some file has some compilation error. What do? Assume that there is a file called login.java, right? There is some compilation error here. How do you know whose code is causing that compilation error? If you send email to all the developers, 500 developers, they say, why you're wasting our time? Because all 500 developers have to check the compilation error, right? So, and people say, why you are bothering everybody? Why can't you reach out to the person who modified that particular, code which is giving that compilation error? So in real time, it's very important for us to understand, to know who is modifying what. So version control systems or source code management tools also help us to store a history for each and every file. What do you call that? History. Who modified, when it is modified, why it is modified. These are few advantages of source code management tools like Git. There are a lot of other advantages. Okay, just to start with this, to make you understand why Git have given these features, but we'll be also discussing a lot of other features. Okay, lot of other advantages you'll say you'll hear. And then when we discuss some concept, I will point out saying, okay, this is the advantages of say version control system and things like that. Right, now you understand why we store the code in Git at a very high level, why we cannot store the code in a normal directory.